You know the gods. You've heard their names whispered in myths, seen their images carved in ancient stone, felt their presence in symbols and dreams. This video is a journey, from clay tablets to mystical visions, from ancient carvings to inner archetypes. We'll ask the central mystery, were these gods ever truly seen, or are their faces hidden in light, in sound, in memory? And as this journey unfolds, we will begin to walk between worlds, the realm of the living and the domain of the gods. Some have claimed to see these divine beings in rituals, in trance, or through deep meditative states. Others say they were taken up, ascended, and glimpsed the divine from the skies above. So we must ask, what did they really look like? To begin to understand the appearance of the gods, we must go back, not to legend or hearsay, but to stone, to the tablets, seals, and carvings of ancient Mesopotamia, where the names and images of divine beings were first recorded by human hands. In the cuneiform texts of the Sumerians, the gods were known as the Anunna, a term that referred specifically to the children of An or Amu, the supreme deity of the heavens. Later, in Akkadian, one of the Semitic languages that evolved in the region, the plural term Anunnaki was used to describe these beings collectively. And associated with this is the cuneiform sign Dingir, a star-shaped symbol meaning god, goddess, or simply divine presence. In academic circles, the Anunnaki are typically understood as mythological figures, deities assigned to celestial, terrestrial, and chthonic realms. They ruled in the heavens, they judged in the underworld, and they played central roles in texts like the Enuma Elish, the Epic of Gilgamesh, and the Atrahasis Epic. They were the architects of fate and the keepers of cosmic order. But a different narrative has emerged outside of mainstream academia, one proposed by scholars like Zecharia Sitchin and embraced by researchers of the ancient astronaut theory. In this alternative interpretation, the Anunnaki were not imagined. They were not myth. They were literal beings, intelligent, technologically advanced, and not from Earth. Sitchin argued, based on translations of Mesopotamian texts, that the Anunnaki came from a planet called Nibiru, a 12th planet, that enters our solar system in a long elliptical orbit. According to this theory, these beings descended to Earth over 400,000 years ago and played a direct role in shaping human civilization, and even the human species itself. Is this science fiction, or is it supported by the artifacts the ancients left behind? Consider the Adda Seal, dated to the Old Babylonian period and currently preserved in the British Museum. This cylindrical seal is one of the most detailed pieces of Mesopotamian iconography known to us. It depicts 4 major deities: Shamash, the sun god; Ishtar, goddess of love and war; Enki, god of waters and wisdom; and a 4th figure often identified as Marduk, the son of Enki and a hero of the Babylonian pantheon. Each figure is intricately portrayed, not just with traditional regalia, but with symbolic instruments, winged garments, horned crowns, flowing streams of water, and, most notably, rods and measuring tools, which many interpret as devices of cosmic engineering. These are not casual decorations. This is technical iconography, encoded with meaning, pointing perhaps to a deeper, hidden knowledge. Now consider VA 243, held at the Vorder Asiatisches Museum in Berlin. This seal became widely known through Zecharia Sitchin's analysis, as it appears to depict a celestial chart, a radiant star-like symbol surrounded by smaller orb-like shapes. Many believe this is a depiction of our solar system, with the controversial addition of a 12th planet, possibly representing Nibiru, the proposed homeworld of the Anunnaki. Though mainstream scholars interpret this as symbolic or numerological, the precision of the arrangement has sparked enduring debate. Mainstream scholars dispute this reading. They argue the diagram is symbolic, not astronomical. that the gods in these seals were invisible forces, manifestations of natural law, not flesh and blood beings. But the counter-argument is this: if the Anunnaki were invisible, why so many visual representations? Why such consistency in their clothing, postures, attributes, and tools? Why do we find winged beings standing beside trees of life, grasping what appear to be pine cones and mechanical-looking bags, motifs that repeat across millennia and cultures? Were the Sumerians simply artists, or were they documentarians? We may never know for sure, but what we do know is this. From their earliest inscriptions, the Sumerians recorded gods with form, bodies, tools, and identity. And that alone opens the door to an extraordinary possibility. Now, expand the lens. Across Mesopotamian art, we encounter recurring figures known as the Apkallu, bearded, often winged beings who are shown in both human and hybrid forms. Some are fully human in appearance, others are distinctly avian, with eagle heads, large feathered wings, and what many describe as advanced, almost technological armor. Who were the Apkallu? According to Sumerian and Babylonian lore, the Apkallu were semi-divine sages, created by the god Enki to bring civilization, agriculture, and knowledge to humanity before the Great Flood. In the mythological texts, especially the Atrahasis and Berosus's Babylonian history, they are said to have lived among humans, instructing them in architecture, law, writing, and spirituality. After the flood, they were said to have retreated to the divine realm. But their likeness remained. Their appearance is striking. They wear what look like complex suits, with detailed patterns around their joints and torsos. Their heads are covered with what resembles a helmet or mask, shaped like the head of a bird of prey. Many grasp a mysterious handbag-like object in one hand and a pinecone-shaped item in the other. They often stand beside a stylized tree of life, engaged in what appears to be a ritual of fertilization or activation. Are these simply religious metaphors? Or could these be stylized representations of beings in protective suits, equipped with technological devices for manipulating biology, energy, or information? The pinecone, often linked to the pineal gland and spiritual awakening, might represent genetic or neurological manipulation. The handbag, which appears not only in Mesopotamia but also in Olmec and ancient Egyptian art, defies explanation through conventional archaeology. Its shape is consistent, rectangular with a handle, suggesting function, not symbolism. And then there are the wings. Mainstream scholars say they symbolize divinity or movement between realms. But in the context of uniformity and recurring iconography, wings may also be interpreted as technological flight or propulsion, much like a symbolic echo of advanced mobility. So the question must be asked again. If these beings were meant to be invisible, symbolic, or purely mythic, why are they rendered with such specificity, with tools, garments, and postures that suggest action, utility, and command? Why do these motifs, winged figures, helmets, pine cones, bags, appear not only in Mesopotamia but in Mesoamerican reliefs, Indian temples, and Egyptian carvings spanning thousands of miles and multiple epochs? Is this archetype? Or is it memory? A preserved image of something or someone that once walked the earth? In these seals and reliefs, we are not just looking at ancient art. We may be looking at messages in stone, a visual language encoded across time. And from here, the mystery only deepens, because if these gods or sages or beings could be seen, then how were they seen across other cultures? If the gods of Mesopotamia could be described, If they were depicted in stone with robes, wings, and crowns, then we must ask, how did other civilizations see their gods? Because the Anunnaki were not the only divine beings believed to walk among mortals. Across the ancient world, different cultures named their gods differently, worshipped them through different rites, but often portrayed them in surprisingly familiar ways. And while their names, languages, and myths varied, one theme repeats again and again: gods with human-like forms, powerful traits, and symbolic features. Let's begin with what we might call the Western triad of divine iconography: Greek, Roman, and Egyptian. In ancient Greece, the gods of Mount Olympus were imagined in vivid detail. Zeus, bearded and muscular, wielded the thunderbolt. Poseidon held his trident over the seas. Athena, armored and wise, bore the aegis and an owl. These weren't abstract concepts. They were visualized, sculpted, and idealized in stone. The Hellenistic world left behind an entire sculptural canon built around divine beauty and human perfection, what we might now call classical proportion. The Romans would later adopt these gods almost wholesale, changing names. Zeus became Jupiter, Athena became Minerva, but keeping the faces, postures, and garments. Now move east to Egypt, and we find a different kind of divine visibility. The Egyptian pantheon is populated by gods with composite forms: falcon-headed Horus, ibis-headed Thoth, jackal-faced Anubis. These forms weren't meant to be taken literally, necessarily, but they weren't hidden either. They were symbolic, revealed in part, concealed in part. The gods were present, but encoded, expressed through the animal's power, the scribe's pen, the crown's authority. In Mesopotamia, we saw this duality too: gods with human bodies, yes, but with wings, star emblems, radiant rods, and horned crowns that indicated their otherworldliness. Now let's widen the scope. In India, the gods of the Vedas and later Hindu traditions are perhaps the most visually rich and multi-layered of all. Vishnu rests upon the cosmic serpent Ananta, his skin a deep divine blue, the color of the infinite sky and sea. Shiva dances within a ring of fire, one hand raised in blessing, another crushing the dwarf of ignorance. Durga, the warrior goddess, rides a lion and wields a weapon in each of her many arms. These are not just images, they are cosmic symbols, layered with metaphysical meaning. And yet, they are consistent, recurring, recognizable. We find similar personalization in Norse mythology. Odin, the All-Father, is a one-eyed wanderer, cloaked in wisdom and mystery. Thor, his son, brandishes the mighty hammer Mjolnir and rides the chariot pulled by goats across the stormy sky. Loki, the trickster, shifts his form, but his personality and face are etched into myth. Here too, the gods are more than energy, they are persona. Archetypes given flesh. To truly grasp how divine figures evolved through history, we must trace not only their mythological roles, but the political, cultural, and symbolic transformations that carried their images across empires and eras. The portrayal of the gods didn't remain static in Sumer. As empires rose and fell, so too did these gods transform, reinterpreted, renamed, but never forgotten. It began in Sumer, where the Anunna, later known as the Anunnaki, were worshipped as the great gods of sky, earth, and the underworld. These were not distant metaphors. They were believed to walk among humanity, each associated with a specific city-state. Enlil with Nippur, Enki with Eridu, Inanna with Uruk, and others. With the rise of the Akkadian Empire under Sargon of Akkad, approximately 2334 BCE, these gods were absorbed into a Semitic framework. Their names changed. Inanna became Ishtar, Enki became Ea, Utu became Shamash, but their functions and iconography remained. Then came the Babylonians, who elevated Marduk to the head of the pantheon. According to Zecharia Sitchin, this shift was not merely political, it was mythic. Marduk, he asserts, was a real Anunnaki, son of Enki, asserting dominion over earth and humanity. Babylon's theological revolution was also a dynastic one, waged among gods who were remembered not just in spirit, but in form. The Assyrians inherited this structure and amplified it. In the monumental reliefs of Nimrud, Nineveh, and Khorsabad, we find Apkallu, winged beings clutching pine cones and handbags. These figures, according to Sitchin, represent technologically equipped emissaries, not mythic inventions. Their visual consistency suggests not imagination, but documentation. But the divine narrative didn't remain confined to Mesopotamia. Through centuries of conquest and cultural fusion, these archetypes migrated westward. During the reign of the Achaemenid Empire, Zoroastrianism introduced Ahura Mazda, a supreme deity enforcing cosmic order, conceptually aligned with Enlil. As Persian, Semitic, and Mesopotamian traditions blended, the gods took on new names, but not new essences. Then came Alexander the Great, whose 4th century BCE conquest forged a Hellenistic world, merging Greek philosophy with Eastern religiosity. The gods followed him, from Macedon to Egypt, from the Levant to Bactria. In this era, through a process called Interpretatio Graeca, Greek deities were syncretized with local gods. Zeus was aligned with Amun-Ra in Egypt. But in Sitchin's view, Amun-Ra was Marduk, reasserting his supremacy in a new cultural tongue. Enki, god of wisdom and water, became the Egyptian Ta, creator through voice and intellect. His son Mingus-Zida appeared as Thoth, the ibis-headed scribe of the gods, later fused with Hermes in the Greco-Egyptian Hermes Trismegistus, guardian of sacred knowledge, alchemy, and the architecture of the cosmos. When Rome absorbed Greece, it preserved this divine lineage. Zeus became Jupiter, Aphrodite became Venus, Hermes became Mercury. The names changed, but the structure endured. The gods were not reinvented, they were republished, each edition adapted to its time. So by the time Roman legions marched across Gaul, Britannia, and the Levant, they carried more than weapons and law. They bore with them the faces of gods carved first in Ur and Eridu, now reinscribed in Latin. This evolution reveals something profound. The gods evolved with civilization, not as abandoned relics, but as refined reflections of consistent forces. From Sumerian ziggurats to Greek temples, from Egyptian tombs to Roman forums, the divine persisted, still depicted, still invoked, still embodied. And this persistence was not confined to the Mediterranean. Even beyond these great empires, divine individuation was a global phenomenon. In West African traditions, especially among the Yoruba, the gods took on personal, accessible forms. The Orishas, like Ogun, god of iron and war, or Ocean, goddess of rivers and fertility, possess unique traits, colors, and symbols. They are not vague deities. They are living presences, invoked in ritual, dance, and daily life. Their individuality is not abstraction, it is experience. From Mesopotamia to Mali, from India to the Andes, we see the same human impulse to give the divine a name, a face, and a form. And now we cross into a deeper inquiry, not of gods in history, but of gods in mind. The ancient philosopher Thales of Miletus proposed the concept of archi, a first principle, an origin from which all emerges. Each civilization, in its own way, attempted to articulate this through myth, symbol, and form. Thousands of years later, Carl Gustav Jung would offer another insight. For him, the gods were not merely celestial, they were psychological. Archetypes, the hero, the mother, the wise old man, the shadow, timeless patterns in the collective unconscious, clothed in culture, ritual, and myth. In Jung's view, the gods are not fantasy. They are mirrors of our inner architecture. They are us, and more than us. They are the forms we require to make meaning of the unknown. So, what does it mean that nearly every civilization gave their gods faces, bodies, names? It means that we, as a species, have always sought to make the invisible visible, to give shape to mystery, to robe power in symbols, to crown it with light, to walk, symbolically, alongside that which cannot be comprehended. And yet, not all gods were so willing to be seen. Let us now turn to the ones who remained hidden. Across time and tradition, there emerges another kind of divine presence, one that does not walk among humans in flesh and form, but veils itself in mystery. A god that cannot be sculpted, cannot be painted, and perhaps must not be seen. In the Hebrew Bible, this principle is expressed with unmistakable force. When Moses ascends Mount Sinai in the book of Exodus, he stands not before a statue, not before a figure, but before fire, cloud, and voice. The divine is present yet unseen. When Moses asks to see Yahweh's glory, the response is absolute. You cannot see my face, for no one may see me and live. This is not metaphor. It is law. To see the face of God is not merely forbidden, it is fatal. And yet, Yahweh does not abandon Moses. He offers a compromise. I will put you in a cleft in the rock and cover you with my hand until I have passed by. Then I will remove my hand and you will see my back, but my face must not be seen. In this moment, we glimpse an ancient idea that echoes through millennia. The divine is too powerful, too radiant, too sacred to behold. Those who follow my videos already know, I do not interpret Yahweh as the one true, omnibenevolent creator of all. Not when we weigh the atrocities attributed to him in the biblical texts, both in the Hebrew Torah and the broader Old Testament. My position, grounded in both textual critique and comparative mythology, sees Yahweh not as the supreme source of all existence, but rather as one among many powerful and territorial deities, whose history was shaped and rewritten by priestly and political agendas over centuries. But this motif, the forbidden or hidden face of the god, is not exclusive to the Hebrews. In Yoruba cosmology, the Orishas, divine intermediaries of Olodumare, the supreme source, also veil themselves in mystery. Orishas are not a monolithic group. Within the Orisha pantheon, there are distinct categories. Some Orishas are primordial, beings who were never human, existing eternally in the Orun, or spiritual realm. Others are deified ancestors, historical figures who once walked the earth, lived, taught, ruled, and died, later ascending into divine status due to their extraordinary deeds or spiritual elevation. This dual nature is essential. It bridges the human and the divine. The Orishas are at once cosmic forces and ancestral spirits. Some, like Obatala, the Orisha of wisdom and purity, are believed to have helped shape humanity itself. Others, like Sango, the fiery god of thunder, were once kings who ruled the ancient Yoruba lands before being mythologized. But regardless of origin, one element remains constant. The face of the Orisha is not casually shown. In ritual, Orishas are invoked through drumming, chanting, dance, and offerings, vibratory technologies that open the space between realms, when a devotee becomes possessed during ritual, when the Orisha mounts the initiate. It is not just performance, it is incarnation. The dancer is no longer a person. They are a vessel inhabited by sacred presence. And that is where the mask appears. These masks are not mere cultural artifacts. They are sanctified containers. To wear the mask of an Orisha is to enter a sacred threshold. The concealment is intentional. The veil protects the community from the raw power of divinity and protects the mortal vessel from being overwhelmed. This is not about secrecy. It is about sacred interface. To look upon the unveiled face of an Orisha without ritual, without preparation, would be to risk devastation. In some oral traditions, it is said that to witness the undiluted essence of the divine could unmake the self, scatter the soul, or provoke spiritual disintegration. This echoes themes found in Hebrew, Hindu, and other spiritual traditions. That to behold the divine in its fullness is to transgress a boundary meant to protect both the seer and the seen. Across cultures, the divine is often hidden. Not to deny its reality, but to preserve the sanctity of the encounter. Because revelation is not just about seeing, it is about being ready to see. The Greeks hinted at this too. In the Bacchae of Euripides, when the mortal Pentheus demands to see Dionysus in his divine form, he is torn apart, both literally and symbolically. The gods, it seems, decide who may see them. And even then, it is rarely face to face. In the mystical currents of Kabbalah, the divine presence, Ein Sof, the infinite, is never fully revealed. Only through the Sephirot, 10 emanations or aspects of God, can one approach the unknowable. The face of God, in this view, is not a face. It is a veil of light, broken into 10 fragments, through which creation flows. In these systems, the divine hides not from fear, but from overwhelming brilliance. What happens when the infinite is shown to the finite? This is the sacred tension. To see the face of a god is to risk death, or to awaken into something else entirely. We begin to understand that the divine form is not always something shown, but something sensed, felt in tremors, dreams, winds, and voices. Some gods are visible, others are hidden, and between them stands a boundary, the veil. But what if that veil was lifted? And before we go further, let me clarify something for those who may be feeling that all of this is getting a bit confusing. You're right, it is confusing. Because reality, as seen through the lens of ancient myth, is not black and white. To the Sumerians, the first historically known civilization to leave us written records, there was no singular deity, no God the Father or Great Mother as we conceive today. There was no single entity above all others. There were the Anunnaki. They were the gods, plural, powerful, visible. They were not metaphors. They were not angels. They were, according to the Sumerians, the creators of life, the engineers of the cosmos, the designers of humanity. In their theology, there was no divine being that created the Anunnaki. They themselves were the creators, and yet for many of us today, including myself, it's almost instinctual to imagine that above the Anunnaki, there must exist some greater force, a prime creator, a cosmic intelligence from which even the gods came. And maybe that's true, but that's not how the ancient Mesopotamians saw it. For them, The Anunnaki were the gods. They were the origin and the order, the architects of both the heavens and the earth. So when we explore divine faces, colors, voices, and forms, we're not just walking through symbols, we're stepping into the worldview of an ancient people who truly believed these beings once walked among them. And now, let's move from the unseen face to the colors that glow from the gods themselves. Because sometimes what cannot be seen with the eye can be felt through the radiance of their presence. If the gods could not always be seen face to face, they could still be perceived. Their presence, their essence, often revealed itself in color, a language older than words. Across the ancient world, divine beings were described not in human tones, but in hues that defied earthly biology. Colors that glowed, colors that shimmered, colors that hinted at origins far beyond our realm. Let us begin again in Mesopotamia. According to the Atrahasis, when the gods fashioned the first human prototype, Adamu, they used the clay of the Abzu, the sacred underground waters of the earth. This clay, Sitchin points out, was described as being of a reddish hue, dark, rich, copper-like, and in the narrative, when the Anunnaki observed Adamu, they remarked that he resembled them in form, in smoothness of skin, and in essence. It suggests something extraordinary, that the Anunnaki themselves may have had reddish or copper-colored skin, not unlike the minerals of the earth from which humanity was shaped. Now shift the lens to the Indian subcontinent. In Hindu cosmology, color becomes cosmic. The gods are not portrayed in earth tones, but in celestial hues. Vishnu, the preserver, is almost always shown with deep blue skin, the color of the infinite sky and the bottomless ocean. His avatars, Krishna and Rama, share this tone, representing transcendence and divinity manifest in form. Shiva, the destroyer and regenerator, is described in scriptures as having ash-gray or blue skin, smeared with sacred ashes, reflecting both death and eternity. These colors were not merely artistic choices, they were metaphysical codes. The blue of Vishnu is not the blue of paint, it is the frequency of infinity, the aura of divinity beyond the visible spectrum. Turn now to the oral traditions of Native American peoples, especially the Hopi, Lakota, and Zuni. Among them, stories abound of star beings, sky people, and ancestors from the heavens. These beings were often said to radiate light, to shine with a whiteness not of skin, but of energy. Some accounts speak of beings clad in glowing white, their forms translucent, luminescent, or shimmering with ethereal brilliance. In West Africa, particularly among the Dogon people of Mali, we find legends of Nomo, amphibious deities who descended from the star Sirius. Countries of these beings range from silver-skinned and shimmering to glassy-eyed, with an almost liquid-like appearance. Across many African mythologies, beings from the sky are described as shining, metallic, or pale and radiant, not as white in the racial sense, but as reflective, like burnished silver or moonlight. What do we make of this? In all these traditions, Sumerian, Indian, Native American, African, we are given gods who are not colored like us. They are painted with the cosmos, not with biology. They carry the tones of the elements: clay, fire, sky, ash, light, and metal. These are not literal portraits. They are symbolic codes, ways to express that these beings did not belong solely to the world of matter. In mystical interpretation, colors represent more than sight. They suggest vibration, dimension, consciousness. The blue gods of India vibrate on the level of truth and eternity. The silver ones of Africa reflect purity, origin, otherworldliness. The radiant beings of the Americas signify arrival, light, and cosmic kinship. So, what color is a god? Is it red like the clay of Adamu? Is it blue like the skin of Vishnu? The truth is, there may be no single answer. In many ancient texts and oral traditions, the gods are described not in flesh tones, but as light, as beings who shimmer, who radiate, who cannot be captured by the spectrum of human vision. The Anunnaki, in particular, are often described or interpreted as the Shining Ones. In Sumerian, the divine determinative Dingir, the symbol for God, is a star. In Akkadian texts and later mystical reinterpretations, the Anunnaki are consistently linked with luminescence, a glowing essence, sometimes likened to silver or burnished metal. This might suggest a silvery hue, a skin that is not just reflective but radiant, something that blends seamlessly with the mythic ether. A color not of pigment, but of presence. And yet, across time and space, we find gods depicted in many tones: black, white, red, blue, gold. So what does that mean? It means there is no preferred color of divinity, no superior hue, no chosen skin. If you believe, as I do, that all of us are the children of eternity, that we are threads spun from the same cosmic loom, then the color of the gods does not divide us. It unites us in mystery. We are one family, beneath one origin, no matter how different our reflections may be. And I want to share something personal here. In the earlier versions of my Anunnaki movie, I chose to depict the gods with diverse skin tones, black, brown, white, because I wanted to show how different cultures might have seen them, remembered them, and interpreted their presence. Each region gave their gods a familiar face, and I respected that. But as I began creating the latest version of the Anunnaki movie, my vision evolved. This time I wanted something new. Something not found in any particular ethnicity or artistic tradition. A color that feels extraterrestrial, interdimensional, something that evades definition. So I designed the Anunnaki with shades between blue and gray. From dark blue to white blue, from storm gray to moon gray. A palette that shines but doesn't reflect the sun. A color that glows from within, like stars seen through mist. It's not just a design choice, it's a symbol. A statement that the divine may not fit our earthly categories. That the gods, if they are real, might wear light like a cloak. And that the mystery of their form is not meant to be solved, but felt. So what color is a god? It is the color of what cannot be contained, the hue of myth, the shade of the unknown. But if the divine body can shimmer with color, what shape does it take? Let us now explore not just the skin of the gods, but the structure, the geometry of their form. If color hints at the energy of the gods, then form reveals their structure, the way they move through space, the bodies they occupy, or seem to. But when it comes to the divine, form is rarely simple. It is rarely flesh and blood. It is often something else entirely. An architecture of light, an imprint of consciousness, a body built not from matter, but from meaning. Across esoteric traditions, from Hermeticism to alchemical texts, from Egypt to the Kabbalah, divine beings are described not in terms of physical anatomy, but in terms of vibration, geometry, and resonance. They do not walk, they manifest. They do not speak, they vibrate into understanding. In ancient Egyptian belief, the Ak was a transfigured spirit form, a glowing fusion of the Ka, vital essence, and Ba, personality. It appeared in visions and dreams, not to scare the living, but to guide them. In Kabbalistic mysticism, the divine is not a person, but a process, Ein Sof, the infinite emanating into the 10 Sephirot. Together these form the Adam Kadmon, the cosmic human, a blueprint of creation, not a body of flesh, but a map of divine intention. In Gnostic cosmology, higher beings exist as eons, facets of the true, unknowable source. The gods we think we see, the ones of flesh and war and hierarchy, belong to the lower world, shaped by a demiurge bound to illusion. The true form is light, name, word. And even so, humans tried to give these forces shape. The halo, the robe, the crown, the mask. These are not decorations, they are threshold symbols. To wear the mask of a god is not to become divine, but to become a vessel of it, a portal between worlds. In mystery schools, the robe was not clothing, it was a ritual field. Every thread a frequency, every color a vibration. And speaking of color, let's take a moment to truly understand what that means. Because color, in its most scientific form, is not inherent. It is not in the skin, the robe, or the wings. Color is the result of light. It is a perception, wavelengths reflected, absorbed, or refracted. We do not see things, we see light bouncing off things. And when we talk about the gods, whether described as glowing white, shimmering blue, copper red, or radiant silver, we are talking about something beyond simple pigmentation. We are talking about radiance, light forms, beings that may not even emit color as we perceive it. And so, let me say this clearly. Any attempt to use ancient mythology, or the ancient astronaut theory, or any spiritual tradition as a tool to justify racial supremacy is a distortion. It is nonsense. It is dangerous. There is no chosen color, no divine ethnicity. There is only the human family. One origin, many reflections. If you, like me, believe in a source beyond the gods, an eternal cosmic intelligence that gave rise to all things, then you must also believe that we are all its children. Black, brown, red, white, yellow, blue. We are brothers and sisters in the eternal mystery. Let this message be clear. Racism is ignorance. Spiritual elitism is a trap, and divine truth shines through equality, compassion, and shared light. And now, back to form. In sacred geometry, the divine is encoded not in bodies, but in patterns. The circle, the spiral, the vesica piscis, the flower of life. These are not ornaments, they are mathematics wearing symbols, blueprints of divinity itself. So when we imagine gods, we are not just imagining larger humans. We are imagining conscious frequencies, encoded in shape and sound, wrapped in mystery, sometimes veiled in color. Their bodies were not made of bone and sinew, but of intention and power. And that's why, across time and civilizations, even when we could not draw their faces, we still recognized their forms. Wings, rods, scrolls, serpents, fire, geometry. So if the gods shimmered with light and radiated with color, and if their forms were woven in symbols, what else could signal their presence? What if it wasn't what we saw, but what we heard? Let us now listen for the divine, not in image, but in sound. If light was their garment, and geometry their architecture, then sound was their voice. Because before the gods appeared in visions or dreams, before their images were carved into stone or painted in pigment, they were often known through vibration, through resonance, through sound that stirred the soul. In sacred traditions across the world, the presence of the divine is signaled not just through form or color, but through music, chant, rhythm, and voice. Sound itself becomes the body of the god, not metaphorically, but energetically. In the Vedic traditions of India, creation begins not with light, but with sound. The primordial syllable Om is considered the sound of the universe itself, not a word, but a vibrational formula. Om is said to encompass all phonetic possibilities, containing within it the beginning A, the continuation U, and the dissolution M. It is the sound not just of gods, but of creation. When sages chant Om, they are not calling to the divine, they are harmonizing with it. Om is the frequency of the absolute. In Abrahamic texts, divine sound appears not as mantra, but as blast, a signal of power. In the Hebrew Bible, the giving of the Ten Commandments at Mount Sinai is accompanied by thunder, fire, and the sound of trumpets growing louder and louder, like in Exodus 19. The shofar, a ram's horn trumpet, is blown on sacred days to announce divine presence and awakening. In the book of Revelation, the return of the divine is marked by the 7 trumpets, each heralding a cosmic event. In the ancient world, sound was never neutral. It was either sacred or dangerous. In shamanic and indigenous traditions, drumming is not entertainment, it is transportation. The drum beat is the heartbeat of the earth. It creates altered states. It opens portals. It brings the gods or the ancestors into the circle. Among the Yoruba, drumming invokes the Orishas. Each Orisha has its own rhythm, its own sequence, its own musical identity. To play that rhythm is to call the deity down, to invite embodiment, even possession. Chanting works similarly. In Gregorian and Byzantine rites, the chant is monotone, undulating, ancient. It purifies the space. It vibrates the bones. In Tibetan Buddhism, the deep throat chanting of monks creates subharmonics, frequencies that resonate beneath human hearing. Why does sound matter? Because sound is form without mass. It moves through space, invisible yet powerful. It shapes matter, as seen in cymatics, where vibration arranges particles into intricate geometric patterns. In this way, sound becomes a kind of divine appearance. The gods do not always walk in. Sometimes they resonate into the room. They arrive as thunder, as flute, as whisper, as echo in a dream. And perhaps, this is why every sacred tradition has its sacred sound. A frequency, a code, a vibration that calls the unseen into presence. So we've seen the light of the gods. We've glimpsed their colors, traced their forms, heard their voices in rhythm and resonance. But now we ask, who are the ones who carry the divine across the veil? Not gods themselves, but messengers. Let us now meet them. Sometimes the gods do not speak for themselves. Sometimes their voices are carried by those who move between realms, who dwell at the thresholds, who speak the language of both heaven and earth. These are the messengers of the divine. Not always gods in the strict sense, but intermediaries, go-betweens, heralds and scribes. They are the ones who bring light into shadow, and shadow into light. We begin with one of the most archetypal of all, Hermes, the messenger god of the Greeks. Known also as Mercury in Roman myth, Hermes is not merely the god of messages, but of liminality, the in-between. He guides souls to the underworld. He delivers the commands of Olympus. He wears winged sandals, symbolizing speed, and carries the caduceus, a staff entwined with serpents, an ancient symbol of balance, healing, and knowledge. Hermes is not bound to one realm. He moves through all of them. And that is the mark of a divine messenger. In ancient Egypt, a parallel figure emerges in the form of Thoth, the ibis-headed god of wisdom, writing in sacred geometry. Thoth is said to have authored the Book of the Dead, to have invented language, and to have maintained the order of the cosmos through speech and mathematics. He is a god of measure, of precision, of cosmic law. But like Hermes, he is also a bridge. Thoth mediates between chaos and order, spirit and matter, the gods and the scribes who record their words. In Jewish mysticism, we encounter another type of messenger, one forged not in myth, but in vision. Metatron. Said to be the scribe of God, Metatron is one of the highest of the archangels, described in the Zohar and other Kabbalistic texts. He is said to have once been the human Enoch, transformed into an angelic being of immense light, seated beside the divine throne. Metatron is associated with the Metatron's cube, a geometric figure that contains the 5 Platonic solids and is thought to be a map of creation itself. In Islamic and Christian traditions, the messengers become even more direct. Gabriel, the angel who appeared to Mary to announce the birth of Jesus, is also the one who delivered the Quran to the Prophet Muhammad. He is the angel of revelation, the transmitter of sacred text. Uriel, whose name means God is my light, is said to be the angel of wisdom, prophecy, and enlightenment. In apocryphal texts, Uriel guards Eden with a fiery sword and reveals divine secrets to prophets and mystics. What unites these figures? They are not gods, but they are not human either. They are transcendent beings, radiant with divine attributes, wisdom, swiftness, vision, purity, and yet they are often more accessible than the gods themselves. They show up, they speak, they teach, they guide. In this way, messengers act as refractions of the divine, light split through a prism. Each one a facet, a voice, a form that allows the unseeable to be seen and the unspeakable to be heard. They are the ones who deliver the call, the symbol, the dream, the sign. And for some, the encounter with such a being is life-changing. For others, it is the beginning of something deeper. Because some say that these messengers do not merely appear to us in visions. They arrive when the veil between worlds is lifted, when we no longer walk in the world of form alone, but step, even briefly, into the realm of the gods. Let us now walk to that threshold. The messengers arrive when the gods themselves do not. But sometimes it is not they who come to us, it is we who are taken to them. Because there exists another path. Not through temples or tablets, but through perception, altered, expanded, and transformed. Across every ancient tradition, there are whispers of another world, a hidden dimension that lies just beyond the veil of ordinary consciousness. Not another place, but another state of being. And it is here, through dreams, through ritual, through altered awareness, that some claim to have encountered the gods directly. Dreams have always been a sacred space. In the Epic of Gilgamesh, the hero's fate is foreshadowed in visions that come as he sleeps. In Genesis, Jacob dreams of a ladder to heaven, angels ascending and descending, a portal opened in the night. But dreams are only one gate. Others enter through trance, induced by chanting, dancing, drumming, or rhythmic breathing. These techniques, used by shamans and priests from Siberia to the Amazon, are not mere performance. They are ancient technologies of the soul. In Amazonian traditions, the use of ayahuasca, a visionary plant brew, is said to open the senses to the spirit realm. Those who drink it under guidance report contact with serpentine deities, ancestral beings, and light forms beyond human comprehension. The Vedas speak of soma, a mysterious drink of immortality, used in sacred ritual to awaken divine vision. Though its exact ingredients are lost, its purpose is clear: to transcend the physical and commune with the gods. Even in ancient Greece, the revered Eleusinian mysteries promised something similar. Once a year, initiates entered a sacred rite in honor of Demeter and Persephone, kept so secret that no detailed account survives. What we do know is that participants emerged, changed. Some spoke of visions, others hinted at rebirth. The philosopher Plato said that the mysteries taught the true meaning of life and death. What happens in these altered states? What do people see? Descriptions vary, but one theme is constant: light, presence, beingness beyond form. In modern mystical experiences, whether through meditation, fasting, solitude, or deep prayer, people often describe encounters with beings of light, voices without mouths, faces that shift like flame or geometry. And so the question arises, what if the gods are not beings of flesh at all? What if they are multi-dimensional intelligences, glimpsed only when the filters of ordinary perception fall away? In quantum theory, we know that reality is not as solid as it seems, that what we call matter is mostly empty space, that particles behave differently when observed. Some physicists now speak of multiple dimensions, curled beyond our grasp, realms that might coexist with ours, unseen but ever present. Could the divine reside in these folds? Are the gods always here, just beyond our bandwidth? The ancients might say yes, not because they had microscopes or formulas, but because they had access to ritual, to rhythm, to reverent unknowing. And through that opening, they saw what we now seek. So now, we turn the question inward. We've traced the shapes, the sounds, the colors, and the messages. We've walked through temples of stone and corridors of vision. But one question remains, and it belongs not to the gods, but to you. If the divine were to appear to you, what form would it take? We asked what the gods looked like. We searched their seals, their temples, their myths. We traced their faces from Sumer to Egypt, from Olympus to Ifa, from the Himalayas to the Amazon. We followed their colors, clay red, cosmic blue, silver white, and listened for their voices in chants, trumpets, and dreams. We watched as they appeared in masks, in robes, in radiant geometry, and then disappeared again behind veils of light. And now, at the end of this path, one truth remains. The gods are both known and unknown. They are present in story, in symbol, in experience. And they are hidden, not just from the eye, but from certainty itself. We have called them by many names: Anunnaki, Orishas, Devas, Elohim. They are not all the same, but they echo each other. Their forms vary, but their presence lingers across time, space, and culture. The Anunnaki, in particular, stand as the oldest and most enigmatic names for the divine. Whether they were gods of myth, beings from another world, or metaphors for something deeper, they continue to speak to us. Not with answers, but with reflections. They are mirrors, mirrors of our awe, mirrors of our memory, mirrors of the possibility that something greater once walked among us, and may still. Because the gods are not just something we seek, they are something we remember, something we feel, something we glimpse in silence, in shadow, in symbols that refuse to explain themselves. And so this journey does not end with revelation. It ends with an invitation to seek not just the face of the gods, but the mystery that gave rise to all myths, to look into the past and discover that you are not looking at ancient history, but at something still alive. In seeking the face of the gods, we may not find answers, but we may find ourselves staring into the mystery that gave birth to all myths.